With less than 2 weeks to go in the window, Marcus Rashford's future remains uncertain, but we understand his preference is to join Barcelona. Napoli are expected to accelerate their interest in Alejandro Garnacho. Welcome along to the transfer show, the window well and truly hotting up. To go through it all with me, I've got Jamie Weir, Michael Bridge, as we had before, and George's assistant coach, David Webb. Great to see you, David.
Hiya.
Question is, as we've done throughout the window, we're going to start with Manchester United. Jamie, developments in the Marcus Rashford story. Tell us.
And as we've done throughout the window, we're going to talk about Marcus Rashford, the gift that keeps on giving. As we revealed last week, his preference is to join Barcelona, but that is complicated. We've already seen with the Dani Olmo saga that they need to create space for his salary with outgoings. They have not formalised any interest yet. Borussia Dortmund, meanwhile, have engaged Manchester United over terms of a loan deal in case they proceed with that move for him. The AC Milan thing looks like it's gone quiet now. AC Milan's focus is on getting Kyle Walker through the door, so it looks as if they've turned their focus away from Marcus Rashford. But I think everything is still on the table, Bridgie, and perhaps even we could see Marcus Rashford stay and try to fight for his place at Old Trafford, even though I think most of us would agree that perhaps the ship has sailed. It's the end of the road for those two parties and they're both going separate ways. I think it's perhaps still on the table.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the key is all options are still on the table, and this could maybe go into the final week of the window. We've got 13 days to go. It's a bit more extended than usual. It's usually January 31st, but it's February the 3rd, everyone. This time, February the 3rd. It's a manic Monday, potentially. And will it be a manic Monday for Marcus Rashford? As Jamie said, you know, there are options. Borussia Dortmund mentioned. Then we said to you last night that Erik ten Hag was linked with the Borussia Dortmund job. Wow, wouldn't that be a story? But another option is actually to stay at Manchester United. Wow, I still can't get over the post-match press conference from Manchester United on Sunday. What Ruben Amorim said about being the worst Manchester United team and squad. Wow, we get it. You know, he does want to make changes. That's absolutely understandable. But I do wonder what the ones that started in that match and who featured, how they feel about it. I'll tell you, didn't feature in that match. That man there.
David, how difficult will it be for United to get Rashford out of the door?
Yeah, it's always difficult in the January window, I think, especially when you've got a big player like Rashford. And obviously it's availability and the need on the other clubs you mentioned, like Barcelona or Dortmund. Obviously he's got big salary and expectations and stuff like that. So it's a shame for Marcus because obviously he's a Man United icon, but I think it looks like the most sensible move for him to part ways if he can this window.
Barcelona, Jamie, I don't get it. I just don't get why a player would want to go there given their financial mess. Why would he want to go there when they can't? They might not be able to pay him.
Horrible place to live, isn't it? Horrible place.
Yeah, but they might not be able to pay him. They might not even be able to register him. Why go there?
Well, I mean, that is the thing, and as David alluded to, he's on a salary of 350 grand a week, and all the indications are there's no chance that Barca can afford that at the moment. But I think it's a lifestyle choice, isn't it? And he's been at Old Trafford since he was a pup, and here's a chance to move to one of the greatest cities in Europe for one of the, if not the biggest club in Europe. Real Madrid fans wouldn't like me for saying that, but you know, imagine doing that at his age and just getting the chance to experience something different, experience La Liga and a city like Barcelona. I think that's the appeal for Marcus Rashford. But you're right, it all comes with that risk that it is a club that is not on the most even financial footing at the moment.
Right, I'm hearing there's breaking news from Southampton. Michael Bridge.
Yeah, thank you to Southampton for doing it during the transfer show. Yeah, good news for Southampton fans. Let's face it, it's not been a great season so far, but you have signed Albert Grönbeck from French club Rennes. The attacking midfielder, he's joined on an initial loan move until the end of the season. Now, there's an option for Southampton to make this move permanent for £12.7 million. He's a 23-year-old Denmark international midfielder. So to recap the top story, Southampton have signed Albert Grönbeck from French club Rennes.
Talk me through a player's mentality. That's a club that's really struggling. Why would he go there?
It's still a chance to play in the Premier League. Southampton is still a progressive club. I mean, it looks like their situation in the league is not great, but I think any player that coming from the French league or any other European league, when you get that chance to play in the Premier League, and even if it is for 3 months,
for another 10 games.
Yeah, for another 10 games, it's still a chance to showcase yourself in the biggest league in the world. So I think for him, you know, it's a good signing for Southampton. They're having a go. They're going to try and stay up, and yeah, I think from his perspective, it's a good move.
Okay, all right. Let's talk Alejandro Garnacho, Michael. Is he going to be in the Premier League for the rest of the season?
Yeah, really interesting one, this, because we know there was tentative interest from Chelsea over a week ago and didn't look likely at any point. But interest from clubs haven't gone away. And this time the club is Antonio Conte's Napoli, who are expected to accelerate their interest in Garnacho. With head coach, we know him very well, Antonio Conte, driving the deal. The initial approach was just shy of £40 million, which was knocked back. But they're under the impression, I love this, they're under the impression that Manchester United wants to do business around the £60 million mark. Now, good player, very good player, but that's a lot of money. And as we revealed yesterday, he's not looking to leave Old Trafford, but is aware he would be sold for the right price and the right conditions.
What do you think, David? Are you surprised that United are even contemplating letting someone like Garnacho go?
Yeah, for me, he's still very young. He's got loads of potential, and he looks like a sort of Amaron type player on the surface. Obviously, we never know what goes on behind closed doors, and he's got those qualities where he can play in his system, either down the sides as the wing backs or the number 10. But with Quara, who's just gone to PSG, he looks like he could be a potential replacement for that. But I think Man United are quite right. They're not going to let him go cheap. He's a fantastic player.
Now, if he goes to Napoli, he could replace Kubica Kvaratskhelia, who you know well, of course, is a Georgian. Is he of a comparable standard, Garnacho to Kvaratskhelia?
Yeah, similar. I mean, they're similar attacking qualities. They both like to dribble. Let's go 1v1. They can play on either side. Quara, as we call him in Georgia, can play up front as well. We would like to use him in the Georgian team, but I think he might do that with PSG. But I think Garnacho, in looking at Conte's system of a 4-3-3, he could be a good fit in there.
Did I get his name right?
That's why they call him Quara.
You did, yeah. We say that for short. It's either Quara or Quincha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might go with that.
Yeah.
Tell us about him. What was he like to coach?
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. He's obvious standout talents. He's great on the ball. He's very direct. For Napoli, I think they play him on the wing. We play him up front. Be interesting to see where he plays at PSG. Looking at where they are, especially with Koulibaly going now to Juventus, they might play him in that false 9 position. But I think when we have him in camp for the training camps, he's what you call like a top character. So when we do the training camps for national teams, you have to be really precise with your work, because you only get 3-4 days to work with the players before your game, and we can't get him off a training pitch at the end of games. He's one of those where he's got that top mentality. He always wants to learn. He always wants to get better. He's got that drive and determination. So yeah, he's a phenomenal player, and he's a fantastic character as well.
Mike, this is the domino effect we see every transfer window, isn't it? Koulibaly goes to Juventus, Kvaratskhelia goes to Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
Now Napoli are trying to replace him, and the later you do it in January, the more difficult it gets, and the club that you're trying to buy a player from is like, oh, you're desperate, are you? Well, we might just ramp up the price a little bit more.
Exactly. On that note, let's talk about incomings from Manchester United. Linked with Patrick Dorgu. How easy is it going to be for them to get him, though, Jamie?
Well, we've just mentioned Napoli, and Napoli are trying to sign Patrick Dorgu, but they're prepared to sign him and then loan him back to Lecce for the rest of the season. So obviously, if you're in Lecce's shoes, that is obviously very tempting indeed. We understand Sky Italy are telling us that an agreement is close to being made between these two clubs, but if Manchester United were to offer around £34 million, €40 million, that could change the dynamic. So I think the ball very much in Manchester United's court. Yep, if you want him, stump up the cash.
OK, so he could come in. United could show Anthony the door. Is that right, Michael?
That is right, Mike. It's a move for Anthony to Real Betis on loan, close to completion. Now, I'm sure a lot of Manchester United fans watching us now will probably think that's best for all parties. But let's remember, 85 million, the whole package of that transfer from Ajax around the summer of 22. But these are the key figures here, Mike. A verbal agreement exists with no option or obligation included in the deal. Formal formalities are being sorted before he took a medical. Here's the key for me. His contract is up, yes, in 2027, but it does include a club-held option of a further year. Many of these deals, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but a lot of these deals a player goes on loan but signs a deal with his club.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen here because this was a big transfer.
Yeah.
But
like for the price tag, one of the Premier League all-time flops. You have to say it just has not worked out at all.
Not at all. So on that note, then, David, is it time for Anthony to move on?
Yeah, I think so. I think he needs a fresh challenge. He hasn't had much game time. It hasn't probably worked out as what he would have liked at Man United. So I think a move away is probably the right move for him.
From a coaching perspective, how difficult is it for a club? Because obviously he came in for Erik Ten Hag, worked with him before. Ten Hag's gone, and there are all these players who don't suit Amrim's system. So how hard is it for the club to go, right, we've got to ship all of those out and get a whole set in and play a different system?
Yeah, it's very difficult when you change managers at this point of the season as well, and you're also changing tactical systems. You're changing a coach who's got different ideas. He said Ruben likes to play more of a 3-4-3. Anthony's more of an orthodox winger that probably don't fit into that system. So automatically he's not going to play. But then you've got the factor of that he did cost a lot of money. He's probably on big wages, and rather than him sort of sitting there, then the club are going to look like to recoup something back, whether that be January or in the summer, because January's a very difficult window. But I think in these situations, when you get a manager that changes, you can't change everything all at once. You have to work with what you've got and then see if you can get some of the ones out in January, and then it's more about the summer, really.
Okay. More about right now, as I hear there's been another development in the Marcus Rashford story. Yeah. What's going on, Jamie?
Yes, indeed. This is just reaching us now. Marcus Rashford's representatives met with Barça executives in Lisbon today. That's ahead of Barcelona taking on Benfica. So they're in Lisbon, obviously, Barcelona. They met Marcus Rashford's representatives and the Barça execs. This is no different to what we've been reporting. Barça remains Marcus Rashford's preferred destination. As we said, the club would have to then be sort of creative and create some salary space. Potential departures of Ansu Fati and Eric Garcia would help with that. But Barça yet to make a formal move. Borussia Dortmund still on the table as well, but they have now met at least the two parties.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's take a break. Just to give you a quick update, Aston Villa
are reporting that Manchester United and the agents of Lecce wing-back Patrick Dorgu have held talks over a potential move. United's current offer of €35 million falls below their valuation. With outgoings, Napoli want to sign Alejandro Garnacho, while Marcus Rashford's representatives met with Barcelona executives in Lisbon and ahead of a potential move.
Newcastle.
The January transfer window was quiet. That is not true. There's been a development on Dorgu, I'm hearing, Michael.
Yeah, I think it's the ramp up now, Mike, because the answer is it simply has to. We do have an update, and it's from our colleagues at Sky in Italy. This afternoon, a meeting was held in Milan over the transfer of Dorgu, representatives from Lecce and Matt Hargreaves, the director of football negotiations at Manchester United. We're just getting this through. The outcome of that meeting is that United currently do not reach their offer more than 25.4 million plus 4.2 million in bonuses in their offer for the left back. Under those conditions, Lecce would prefer not to give him away now, keep him until June, or sell him now but keep him in the squad until the end of the season. That sounds to me like it could become a saga.
So yeah, with add-ons, that's €35 million. And as we said earlier, if it's €40 million, suddenly then Lecce are listening. So, the ball's in your court, Manchester United.
Yeah. What do you make of what's going on with Amrim being so outspoken about his squad? Is he actually saying to the board, get these players out, get me some new ones in, and this is one of the ones I want?
Yeah, I mean, his comments the other day about being the worst squad was maybe a bit harsh, in my opinion.
What was he doing? Who was he talking to?
Potentially, I think it was a message maybe to the board, maybe to the players a little bit. There's always, sometimes with coaches, there's always little hidden messages in what they're trying to get, and maybe trying to get a reaction out of the Man United players. So I don't think he did it in a malicious way. I think he was just more trying to get a reaction. But Deco definitely looks a player that would suit into his style, especially in the wing-back type role. He's very quick, he's very dynamic. So with Malaysia not getting any game time and players like that, so I think he could potentially be a good signing for him.
Okay. You three are going to love this next.
Yeah.
When we come back from the break, we're going to talk Tottenham.
No, Merce is laughing at me. No.
Oh, wow. come to you, but there's breaking news as always. What you got, Jamie?
Yeah, I do. It concerns Alejandro Garnacho, who we spoke about right at the very top of the hour as well. Manchester, we understand, have now lowered their demands for Alejandro Garnacho in terms of Napoli or the club that are interested. According to Sky in Italy, United said to have come down from their initial asking price after holding talks today and are now open to doing business at around £55 million. Now, Napoli are yet to come anywhere near that figure. They're still hoping to do a deal for closer to £46 million, but it might well be that the two clubs meet in the middle, maybe something around £50 million for, Dave was talking about earlier, a player with bags of potential, but that is still an awful lot of money, and looks like Ruben Amorim is wielding the axe and being quite brutal.
David, we've only got about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Are United thinking money and not football?
Probably both. They need to get rid of to strengthen. So it looks like that he's not fitting into his plan, so it's one out and potentially another one in.
Okay, well, listen, thank you all very much. David, great to see you on the show. Michael, likewise. And Jamie, thank you very
much. Always a pleasure, Mike.
It's great to see you. So much going on in the transfer window at the moment. As you can see, January's supposed to be quiet, not this one. Loads going on. Manchester City leading the way, but other clubs are following suit. Manchester United in particular. Following us, a soccer special. You've got that lot coming up in just a moment. They're going to take you through a fantastic evening of sport. Enjoy.
For sale, no. But obviously both of us know in the transfer market, every player does have his price.
They certainly do. Where does this all leave Marcus Rashford? Because there were talks about him going to AC Milan. That's cooled a bit, hasn't it?
I think some people may be getting a little bit frustrated about how much we're talking about Marcus Rashford. Because they'll be watching, reading, saying, why do they keep talking about Marcus Rashford? Because nothing's changed. Well, what are the actual developments? Well, I don't think anything has changed publicly, but behind the scenes, obviously his representatives are having talks with lots of interested clubs. Everybody knows that he's on big wages at Manchester United. For United to let him go on loan, they would want all his wages paid. But I think interested clubs know that the closer you get to the deadline, the more likely it is that United will be willing to subsidise his wages. So interested clubs would potentially get a much better deal in 2 weeks' time, closer to the window closing, closer maybe even on deadline day. I think when it comes to AC Milan, I don't think they are going to progress their move for him, according to Sky in Italy. We've been talking about the fact they can only sign one player from the UK. And if they get Kyle Walker, that would mean that they wouldn't be able to get Marcus Rashford. And I'm not sure they could afford his wages at the moment.
Yes.
I think.
Which is great. Actually, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what about the other players from Manchester United? Because it's not just Rashford, actually, is it? Alejandro Garnacho and Antony could be on their way as well.
I mean,
Garnacho and Antony.
I remember 2.5 years ago when United signed him. One of the most expensive signings in Premier League history. Cost, I think, an initial 81 million pounds. Arrived, so much publicity, so much hype. But you have to say, he has been very disappointing. I think he's only scored 12 goals. He's become a bit part player. United obviously willing to listen to offers for him. But the only deal that's really materialised is joining Real Betis on loan until the end of the season. So I think United will be hoping he goes out to Real Betis, does really well there, and that means they may be able to sell him and get some of that £81 million back in the summer. Garnacho is a bit more of a strange one, because I think you would think that most United fans would be like, look, this is the kind of young player that we want to stay at the club. He's only 20 years old. He's come up through the youth ranks. But Napoli interested in signing him. Chelsea interested in signing him. I think Napoli value him around 40 million euros. That's not going to be enough. I think if United are to let him go, it would need to be for something closer to 60 million pounds. United also, we're being told, are willing to listen to loan offers for Tyrell Malacia, the left back who's had a lot of injury problems.
Yeah, gosh, so lots of outgoings then. What about any potential incomers for poor Ruben Amorim?
Well, I think the one area of his squad he really wants to strengthen, I mean, there's quite a lot of areas, but I think his priority at the moment is left back, left wing back. Luke Shaw has been out the whole season. Tyrone Malacia has been injured. He's come back. They're going to let him potentially go out on loan. And one of their top targets is the Lecce left wing back, Patrick Dorgu. Now, he's a young, exciting player. He's only 20 years old. I think he was a Danish player of the year. I think if United come in for you, then you're going to want to make that move. So that is a potential incoming at Manchester United. But I think they're going to need to have players leaving before they can bring anyone in.